Hey there, Justin again, the Renegade Realtor. I saw this morning that it looks like Bank of America is offering loans on homes that are, they're not checking your credit and you don't have to put anything down. Which, if you are old enough to remember the last housing meltdown, that was what immediately preceded it. It wasn't the cause, or not the only cause, but it certainly wasn't good. And I'm surprised this is even legal. It seems to be predatory. I don't like it. I think if you're talking to these people about a loan of that nature, what am I going to say? I don't recommend it. When people are given loans that the bank sort of knows they can't pay back, or at least they know a high frequency of these people will not be able to pay it back, there's always somebody, no matter how much checking you do and how certain you are about the lender's ability to pay back, there's always somebody that can't pay it back. But when you give loans out, you don't check the credit and you don't require anything to be put down, zero down on these loans, it's a disservice to the borrower, because it's almost like saying we don't care if you pay it back. Now, obviously, the bank expects to be paid back, and many of these people will pay it back. However, the frequency is going to be high of people who default. Obviously, they have the numbers, they have the data, they know that when they give loans like this, an awful lot of people can't pay them back, and they're financially ruined by it. Their credit is destroyed. They default on a house, and they get into situations where the value of the house goes down, and now they're underwater because they lose their job. The value of the house has declined, so they owe more on the house than it's worth. And so not only do they lose their house, but they default on their repayment to the bank because they owe more than the bank, more than the house is worth. So this is what we saw in 08, 09, and 07, 06. We saw these kind of loans, and it was part of what caused this such destruction. And I'll tell you, one of the things Bank of America is doing is they're saying, well, we're helping out minority communities. Well, I hate to say it, but they're not helping out minority communities. One of the most morbid things I've ever heard was during the last big downturn, when you had millions of foreclosures. I heard somebody say that all of the gains made by the African American community over the last 20 years have been lost from this downturn, because so many people in that community have been financially ruined by this. They got into housing before they were ready. They didn't have the money, they didn't have the credit, and they got a house anyway, and then they got into some hard times, and the whole housing market collapsed. And so they're set back because they've lost the house, they've lost a lot of money, they've lost credit, and they've been set back to, they've been ruined. And so I find this kind of lending practice predatory. I think it should be outlawed. I think they're incredibly sadistic, because they're going to destroy people in minority communities. I know it's not just African Americans, it's everybody. Anybody that takes a loan like that, it's like asking for trouble. If you don't have, you may have some reason to get a loan like that, but I can't think of what it would be. If you don't have the money for a down payment, and you don't have the money, or you don't have the credit to qualify under normal circumstances, but getting into a situation like this is just asking for trouble. And one of the things the banks did in the old days, or will usually do, is they would require a good credit score and a 15, 20, 25% down, because you get some skin in the game, and it means, okay, you've been saving, you got it together, you're doing the things that you hope one would do for home ownership. And it was a win-win, because if you didn't get the loan, it meant they were protecting you. Now they were protecting themselves, but by protecting themselves, they were also protecting you by not giving you the loan, because they thought, well, the frequencies of people like you defaulting are too high, so we're not going to give you this loan. And maybe you spent 5 years, you got your credit up, you got your down payment up, and then you got a house then, and you didn't lose it. But what they're doing now, I think, is very disturbing. I used to have a client. Well, I've had clients all the time ask me, where do I get a loan? I said, well, you might want to start by going to your bank, as long as it's not Wells Fargo or Bank of America, because I think they've gotten into way too much trouble doing these types of things, and they got into big trouble in the last big housing downturn, and they didn't learn, or they think they're going to get bailed out, or maybe they did learn, they don't care. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know why they're doing this, but they're not doing this to help minorities. That's for sure. And because they're going to hurt minorities by doing this. So I just would encourage you to be careful. I mean, I bank with Bank of the West, which I love. I bank with US Bank, which I love. And I just have to. I'm just doing this video because I've heard this recently, and I'm very disturbed by it. I find it's so demoralizing to think that a lot of people are going to be financially screwed up who wouldn't have if the bank just didn't give them the damn loan because they weren't ready. And also, as far as whether or not we still live in a racist country, I think it's funny that I saw this news about Bank of America giving these ridiculous loans this morning, and last night I was watching the situation in Alabama where they're disenfranchising black voters, and it's very out in the open. There's no question about what's going on with that. And it's ridiculous. So yeah, we still live in a country, just because we had a black president, we still live in a country where there's a lot of evil statistic treatment of minority communities, particularly African Americans. So we got a long way to go, and don't get one of these loans because there's a pretty good chance that you're going to get into big trouble, especially when everybody knows house prices are coming down and there's going to be a lot of job losses. Everyone knows there's at this point, everybody knows there's a recession coming. So I think the fact that Bank of America is doing this should be outlawed, or somebody should do something. So I'm just one voice out here expressing my opinion. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.